Okay, just say five. Yeah, I gotta get there. Sorry. I'm back. Yes. No, it included it. This one was just such a good weather. You've got all good. Yeah, I know, so that's what I could put. That all takes forever. Yeah, I know. The point is still the same. The point is not, why do we move this here? Because this fourth hasn't always the ways of this types. I'll do what I'm told.
No, I'm just thinking.
It's not hard to make it more efficient for you, and I'm just like. The guy.
There's going to be rivets.
I ordered. Okay, we're going to start as soon as we can, and then I think it is 5 o'clock. Mike, can you hear us when we're speaking?
Yes.
Yes, okay. So if I can get everybody else here to be quiet, we can start, I think, and you'll let me know when we're live streamed there. We are live. We are? Okay, perfect. I'd like to start by acknowledging with respect the lands on which we live, work, play, and learn as the traditional territories of the Gitxsan, Haisla, Nisga'a, and Tsimshian people. We're honored to work with their children and privileged to live on these lands. Welcome to our September 25th, 2024 meeting, and a warm welcome to all of our guests. And we'll do some introductions as we go through the agenda here. September, of course, is the beginning of another school year, and we're all getting to know each other and starting to build a year's plan of what we want to accomplish in this year. So thank you for coming, and thank you for those who are on YouTube and watching us virtually. I'm Margaret Warcraft. I'm your board chairperson and representative in Terrace, and I'll go to my left and get Ed to announce.
I'm Ed Harrison, trustee from Terrace.
Wayne Jones, trustee from Stewart.
Karen Yonkman, trustee from Kitimat.
And Mike, you wish to introduce yourself there, please?
Yeah, Mike Maxim, trustee for Thornhill.
Thank you. And warm welcomes to our union reps. I believe Jocelyn's here on her own tonight. And I don't.
Terry's online.
Terry's online.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, and I don't see a CUPE rep. Do we have a CUPE rep here? No. Okay. And welcome to Steve Keitzman, who's our auditor, who's going to be presenting later in the agenda because it's our audited financial statement time that way. A couple of announcements. We honored the life of the late Kittson-Kalin First Nation hereditary chief and long-standing elected chief councillor Don Roberts, who passed away September 15th, 2024. We lowered our flags in respect, and then several of us attended parts of the funeral today. We extend our condolences to the Kittson-Kalin First Nations and Chief Roberts' family. Our thoughts are with his family and his community. This week, as you can see from our orange shirts, it is September 23rd to the 27th is Truth and Reconciliation Week, and Monday, September 30th is the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation and Orange Shirt Day. In Coast Mountain School District, our learners and staff are encouraged to wear orange on Thursday, September 26th, noting that Friday, September 27th, is a non-instructional day. During this week, Canadians honor the survivors of residential schools in Canada and the thousands of children who did not return home, along with their communities and the loved ones. Schools are engaging this week with ongoing learning about the impacts of residential school system and further their understanding of the experiences and the history of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit people. Orange Shirt Day, as I said, is September 30th, and I encourage all to respect this tradition that's happening. As we know, and we watched a couple of years ago, we didn't do it this year, we've got so much on the agenda. We did watch Phyllis Webstad's YouTube video that she does where she talks about how the Orange Shirts Day was inspired and being used. Are we sharing the video? Oh, sorry, I should have read even further down here. But so obviously we're going to start with sharing the video as soon as I finish the announcements here. We do have one announcement in terms of looking at our quorum and those attending. We have accepted the resignation of trustee Sonny Duncan Green for the Kitimat area, and we have started the election steps to do an election there that week. And we will be welcoming our new superintendent, Tracy McMillan, to the position of superintendent of schools and CEO for Coast Mountain School District. And she will begin with us on October 1st. And in the interim, Janet, who's beside me here, is leading the start of the school year for us. So I will have Janet introduce her staff and then we'll see the video.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Janet Meyer, interim superintendent. And over to you, Julia.
Director of Instruction and Support, Julia Nicole. Said it backwards. I must have said that 100 times and said it backwards today. So sorry.
Tina McDonald, District Principal in charge of Early Learning, French Version and Literacy.
Bill Barron, District Principal.
Beverly Azar, District Vice Principal for Indigenous Education.
Ginger Fuller, Secretary Treasurer.
Thank you.
Carol Gagnon, Executive Assistant.
Okay, is all the technology going to work? We can
I
see
hope
the little
so.
video first.
Let's go. All right. Ready.
Thank you. Good reflective thoughts there. So we have a quorum. for our meeting, and we have a first presentation, and I'd like to just honor you and let you introduce yourselves and your team, if that would be good for you.
Chair, we need to approve the agenda.
Before the, I can't read today. Can I have an approval of the agenda, please? A motion from a trustee? Any second by Karen?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All in favor? Pass. Okay. I do read sometimes, so I just want you to be able to present. Go ahead.
Well, thank you very much for allowing us to come this evening and present the proposal that we have. My name is Monica Sims, and I'm the Education Advisor with the Gibson Government Commission Office, and I'm also the IPEC Chair. And
Yes, I'm Angie Maitland. I'm the Director of Education for the Heisman Nation.
Hello, my name is Marion Kodowich-Lavelle, and I represent Kitson Kalen. I'm their Kitson Kalen Education Coordinator.
Mayuksa Pansy Wright Sims. I'm the Education Coordinator for the STEM.
Hello, I'm Shannon Redstill, the Education Coordinator with Eagle
so tonight, we'd like to just do a presentation regarding proportionate First Nations representation on the Coast Mountain School District Board of Trustees. And just a little bit of background information. Article 18 of the United Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, UNDRIP, states, Indigenous peoples have the right to participate in decision-making in matters which would affect their rights through representatives chosen by themselves in accordance with their own procedures, as well as to maintain and develop their own Indigenous decision-making institutions. The Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples Act, DRIPA, was unanimously passed by the BC Legislative Assembly in November 2019, and subsequently, the province published the DRIPA Action Plan as a follow-up to DRIPA. The action plan states that UN Declaration is a universal framework of minimum standards for the survival, dignity, and well-being of the Indigenous peoples of the world, and it elaborates on existing human rights standard and fundamental freedoms as they apply to the specific situation of Indigenous peoples. And further states that the provincial government is committed to upholding these human rights in its institutions, laws, policies, and practices to advance reconciliation and address the legacy and harms of colonialism on Indigenous peoples. So now is the time to put these words into action, and we call upon you to work with the First Nations in School District 82 to make this happen. Without reservation, without delay regarding the call to action, and address the lack of Indigenous representation on the Board of Trustees.
So under the current formula for electing school board trustees, which is based on total city and town population, the elected school board has been predominantly non-First Nations. While we were encouraged by the past school district administration's good faith efforts to right the systematic wrongs, it cannot be overlooked that ultimately the district trustees consistently, the district administration's report to and its goals are determined by the Board of Trustees. ITEC has noted that the Board of Trustees consistently has a composition that does not reflect the demographics of the student population that are enrolled in our schools. The Board of Trustees are and have been directly responsible for the priorities of the district and the distribution of funds to our schools. Funding, which is earmarked for tuition based on our Indigenous students, does not make it back to our schools to support Indigenous students with the greatest needs. This is the type of leadership that the Coast Mountain School Board of Trustees has consistently demonstrated at the expense of our Indigenous youth.
Well, the proposed changes to the school district 82 trustee electoral areas. We have been working closely with every nation whose traditional territories school district 82 schools occupy, and working together as the Intertribal Education Committee. Our collective nations have gathered relevant data and come up with a proposal to address the disparity in representation that is in line with the demographic proportions of the school populations. This proposal would change the election of trustees in the current zones from 7 to 9, of which 4 seats would be voted on by the members of the nations that reside in those zones. So this next slide, the information was collected, and it is from last year's data. So we don't have this year's information, so that's what we're presenting from. Okay, so the current zones with the breakdown of the school population demographics. So in electoral area 1, Kitimat, the total school population is 973, of which non-Indigenous are 685 and total Indigenous are 288, which is a 70% to 30% ratio. In Terrace School Electoral Area 2, there are 2,233 total population, of which 1,280 are non-Indigenous and 953 are Indigenous, with a 57 to 43% ratio. In electoral area 3, Thornhill, there are 291 total population, of which 167 are non-Indigenous and 124 are Indigenous, 57 to 43% ratio. In area 4, Stewart, there are 70 total population and 70 total non-Indigenous with 0 Indigenous. In electoral area 5, Hazelton, the total school population is 700, non-Indigenous is 73, and the total Indigenous is 627, with a 10% to 90% ratio. The total school population in the district is 4,267, of which 2,275 are non-Indigenous and 1,992 are Indigenous, with a 53 to 47% ratio. So this map that you see here, these are the current zones, and the number in the brackets is the number of trustees in each zone. So area 1, Kitimat, has 2 trustees. Area 2, Terrace, has 2 trustees. Area 3, Thornhill, has 1. Area 4, Stewart, has 1. And area 5, Hazelton, has 1. So with the current zones and the proposed trustees, each of these zones would have their regular 1 trustee with a total of 5 trustees. And with the current zones based on proportionate additional representation, area 1, Haisla zone would have 1. Area 2, Tsimshian, Kitsalis and Kitsim-Kalem would have 1. Area 5, Gitsan would have 1, and area 5, Wet'suwet'en would have 1, with an additional 4 trustees. And the map here shows what the additions to the electoral areas. The number in brackets is the number of trustees. So Kitimat area 1 would have 1, Haisla area 1 would have 1, Terrace Area 2 would have 1, and Shimshan Area 2 would have 1. Thornhill Area 3 would have 1. Stewart Area 4 would have 1. Hazelton Area 5 would have 1. The Gitsan Area 5 would have 1, and the Wet'suwet'en Area 5 would have 1.
So with 4 new trustees, the total number of trustees would be 9, with 5 trustees voted on under the established protocol as detailed on policy 5065. Plus 4 trustees voted on by band members in each of the zones. This would provide proportional representation, 54% to 46%, roughly equivalent to the demographic breakdown of the students in the Coast Mountain School District, 53% to 47%. Section 32 of the BC School Act states, 2, a board consists of 3, 5, 7, or 9 trustees as determined by order of the minister under this section. In order to implement the above proposal, we request that section of the School Act be extended to allow for the maximum of 9 members.
On behalf of Kids and Caleb, I'm going to read out a communication that I sent out for this meeting. As many of you know, and we acknowledged the passing of Chief Don Roberts. So I also speak on behalf of our band manager, Steve Roberts. So this is my communication. It's a little awkward for the setting, but I thought I'll just read it as is. So there's an ITech presentation to CMSD 82 Board of Trustees, public board meeting Wednesday, September 25th, 2024, 5 p.m. 4:30 pre-assembly. September 23rd. Hello, Kids and Caleb community. With all due respect, I am sending out this communication to be distributed widely to Kids and Caleb if possible. Firstly, please accept my deepest apologies for the unfortunate placement of the upcoming CMSD 82 Board of Trustees meeting in light of our community's loss of Chief Don Roberts. However, the CMSD Board of Trustees meetings are preset for the year. My sincere apologies. On September 25th at 5 p.m., the Intertribal Education Committee, ITEC, will be making a public presentation to the Coast Mountain School District 82 Board of Trustees to request changes to the board. The ITEC presentation is at the top of the agenda at 5 p.m. and will last about 20 minutes. The meeting is accessible online and at the Coast Mountain School Board office at 3211 Kenny Street, Terrace, BC. For more information, please go to the links provided below or call the number. Website. ITEC is inviting any interested First Nations, Indigenous peoples, and allies to please support First Nations with this agenda. People are invited to assemble early beforehand to show a peaceful and respectful support and alignment for ITEC's proposed changes to the Coast Mountain School District Board of Trustees for proportionate First Nations representation on the Board of Trustees. More specifically, the ITEC representatives are proposing that CMSD expand their numbers of trustees to 9 and to have proportionate district-wide First Nations representation for the upcoming election cycle. This request aligns with the calls to action from the UNDRIP, BC's UNDRIPA agreements, and the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. Historically, the Coast Mountain School District 82 Board has not had any long-term or meaningful First Nations representation, and yet the First Nations and Indigenous student populations is nearly 50% in CMSD. The lack of proportionate representation on the Coast Mountain School District Board interferes with First Nations' ability to have a consistent voice about the public education services and developments in our local and collective communities. This proposal paves the way for a proactive, shared responsibility and balanced response to the challenges facing our schools and our school district. ITEC has been working on improving the educational system for Indigenous children for decades. and on this agenda item for over 2 years with community partners and the Ministry of Education. ITEC is a unifying voice for First Nations concerns, representing children's, families, and workers on the ground. The need for proportionate representation on the board is a matter of balancing the scales and perspectives impacting our children's education and their futures. The current board electoral and governance structures have been a historical barrier and for First Nations involvement. And First Nations have had restricted input on decisions made that affect First Nations. For example, the amalgamation of local districts to one large district decades ago. The repercussions of this change are still felt. ITEC is calling for this reconciliatory action to usher in a new era of participation under UNDRIP and to further harmonize the First Nations and Indigenous peoples' authority and responsibilities outlined in the new BC Education Act Bill 40 Amendment 2023. This proposal, if accepted, will close the gaps and promote proportionate and shared governance. The time has come to call for the cooperation and support of CMSD 82 board to advocate and support this proposal and to create a new pathway for First Nations voice on these unceded First Nations territories toward greater inclusion and diversity. Please find the attached agenda for the CMSD agenda and ITEC's PowerPoint presentation for your consideration. Thank you.
So in closing, we would just like to thank you for the opportunity to give this presentation and hope that you will take the information into consideration in light of the new legislation and the calls to action. Thank you very much.
So on behalf of the board, I'd like to thank you for presenting to us. As we've explained with the presentations, we don't give answers or questions at this time. We need time to digest what we've heard, and we will get back to you. Okay, and I'm saying that because I know one trustee has got his hand up, but it's not the process to allow questions at this time. We need to do that within ourselves. So thank you very much, and thank you for coming. Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And you're welcome to stay.
I want to thank the Terra Standard representative here, who also paid with some important attention and focus on this matter. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Just before we go, I just wanted to offer, I see you have a drum here.
That's my drum.
Can I have?
Yes, certainly.
I just want to offer a song. And the song is about coming together and uniting our hearts as one. It was a song that was blessed to me by our ancestors who were green. And the title of the song is "The Walk with One Heart as We Go." And that is the hope that we have for our little wolves, our children, that we are a united body of people working in the best interests of Alaska. Thank you for letting me.
You're welcome.
I don't typically drum during the loss of a loved one, so I just want to offer thanks and gratitude, and I give my condolences to the First Nations of this unceded territory and the loss of Somali province. One body will blossom. One body will blossom. Hey, 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 hey. One body will blossom. One body will blossom.
Thank you. Pause for a moment for those who do this. It's good to see you all.
How are you, Monica?
Good, how are you?
Yeah, long time no see.
You know, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so we'll move on to point 5, approval of the minutes of the prior meeting. If I could have a motion for approval, please, for pages 14 to 24. Thank you. Wayne, seconder. Ed, all in favor? Passed. Mike, are you voting? Thank you. Yeah, I saw it now. Yes. Number 6, receipt of the records of the in-camera meetings, 6.1 on pages 25 to 26. A motion for approval, please. Karen, second. Thank you, Wayne. All in favor? Passed. And Mike, you didn't attend, so I would assume you're abstaining from these ones. Yeah, passed.
Just changing pages so that I can find.
Okay. 6.2, summary of special in-camera meeting, June 26th, on pages 27 to 28. A motion to approve, please. And second, Wayne, thank you. All in favor? Pass, thank you. Summary of special in-camera meeting, August 6th, 2024. A motion for approval on page of the minutes on page 29 to 30. Moved by Karen, second by Ed. Okay, all in favor? Passed. Thank you. The next point of business is a follow-up from trustee Mike Maxim's suggestion. Yeah. That way. And I'll read out the follow-up. As communicated publicly on June 12th, 2024, the Board of Education at a special in-camera meeting held on May 27th, 24, voted to censure trustee Michael Maxim for misconduct for breaching Coast Mountain School District policies number 2010 harassment, 2020 respectful workplace, and number 5010 trustee code of ethics. Further sanctions were imposed for trustee Maxim on June 13th, 2024, following a special in-camera meeting where it was determined that trustee Maxim breached Coast Mountain School District policies number 5010 trustees code of ethics and number 15 communications and consultations. I would like it recorded and clear that the Board of Education wishes to reaffirm clearly that trustees Maxim's continued actions are based on personal agenda and his actions are not supported by or representative of the Board of Education. We speak as one voice when we can. So that is my report for 7.1.
Incoming.
Pardon? Carry on. Okay. And then correspondence under 8.1. Oh, sorry. Mike, go ahead.
He's on mute.
You're on mute, Mike.
There we go. Now you've added another one on July the 3rd. And that one states, Dear Mike, I'm writing to you again to ask that you cease the actions you're continuing to do that are breaching the role of a trustee, although you don't mention what those actions are. As previously shared with you, the board imposed sanctions on you resulting from your breaches of policies 2010 harassment, 2020 respectful workplace, and 5010 trustee code of ethics with Coast Mountain School Districts. I would like to point out that 2010 harassment specifically excludes disciplinary communications, and respectful workplace applies to employees on district property, neither of which apply. Now, regarding 510 trustee code of ethics, my first duty is to the children in our schools. My second duty is to the Ministry of Education, who is my actual employer. My fourth, I owe a duty of care to the members of my community who have elected me. I have a duty of care to the staff of District 82, who are employees that I owe a duty to. And I do not recognize any duty to support trustees in bad decisions. Now, I'm going to continue reading this letter.
No, I'm not going to allow the continued reading of the letter. Mike, when we do the hearings, you had the opportunity to speak to us, and this isn't a time to review the sanctions. This is
You specifically say in this letter that I do not get an opportunity to respond to it.
You do have an opportunity. You've had an opportunity to respond at each of the hearing meetings that we've had. And this time is just to state that we want on public record that you are not speaking on behalf of the board and the community at this time. So we'll move on with the agenda. And we've got Stewart's Community Connections letter of appreciation, a motion to accept this letter. It's very exciting. Do you want to speak to it?
Oh, it's fantastic. It's the community up there has done a tremendous job with everything they've done. This community, lost the name now. Community Connections has done a wonderful job with every aspect that they've done, especially with the children in the schools. It's been tremendous. They've done, and they've also introduced a lot of initiatives that got a lot of materials for the schools. And I think this $5,000 is only a small portion of what they managed to achieve on our behalf. So, yeah.
So you moved approval of the letter? Or
Yeah, I move approval of the letter.
And
Yeah.
a seconder, please. And yes, we'll express our appreciation to them when we have our meetings in Stewart too. Thanks, Ed. All in favor? Thank you. Superintendent of Schools monthly report.
Thank you, Chair Workup. The report stands for itself. I would like to highlight the aspect of the new code of conduct and the legislation related to students' use of cell phones in schools. From all reports, this action has had thus far a very positive impact on student engagement in classrooms. And while I was not necessarily as optimistic as I could have been prior to this, I am certainly very optimistic about the way that it is turning out. So thank you for that. The other item I'd like to emphasize is that the new superintendent should be arriving in Lloydminster within the hour, and tomorrow will be in Prince George, and Friday will be on Tsimshian territory in Terrace. And I'm thrilled to report that. As well, I'd like to give you an update on the 2 vacant Director of Instruction positions. The Director of Instruction for Indigenous Education, that process currently sits jointly with the district as well as the Intertribal Education Committee. We will meet next week to start to work on the terms of reference as to how we are going to operate as an us collectively in that matter. The other Director of Instruction for Learning Services, otherwise known as Graduation and Innovation, closes this week, and we will be moving forward with that process as soon as possible. So unless there are any other questions, that's the superintendent's report.
Could I have a motion to receive the superintendent's report of September 25th, 2024? Ed, you okay? You okay?
Mr. Maxim, Trustee Maxim has his hand up.
Trustee Maxim, you have a question? No, you were approving the receipt? Okay. Thank you. Or are you muted? No, I think. Okay. The Indigenous Education Report was handed out to us. There it is, right there in front of you. Go ahead, Janet.
I'd just like to highlight the second section of the report that outlines Bill C-40 that provides districts and Indigenous education councils the opportunity to work together and for rights holders to have a say in the education of their children. And the district is very much looking forward to working collaboratively with ITEC to have a very, very successful relationship moving forward.
Could I have a motion to receive the report as presented? Aaron? Second, Ed? All in favor? Passed. And Mike, were you voting in favor of receive the report?
Yeah, I was wondering where Robert Clifton is.
May I?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Mr. Clifton resigned from Coast Mountain School District in July and has accepted a new position in Niska.
Thank you.
We'll now move on to number 11, the standing committee reports, and I'll turn it over to Ed Harrison and his team that's going to help us here.
Sure. The minutes of the business committee meeting on September the 18th, 2024, they're in the package. And the recommended action is the minutes of the business committee meeting held September 18th, 2024, be received for information.
So moved by Ed, a seconder. Karen, all in favor? Passed. Thank you.
Does he have a?
Mike, did you have a question on the business committee minutes?
No.
No.
Was he abstaining from the vote?
Oh, were you abstaining on those ones, Mike, or were you just voting in favor?
Yeah, I'm sorry, I missed the vote. I would have voted to approve.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Item 11.1.2, draft 223-24 audited financial statements. And that's on page 44 in your package. Pursuant to sections 156, accounting practices, and 157, financial statements of the School Act and Ministerial Order 033-09, boards of education must submit financial statements in the form required by the Ministry of Education and Child Care on or before September 30th of each fiscal year. The draft 2023-24 audited financial statements and accompanying notes version 7355-6609-4627 are attached for reference. The notation is explained upon approval of the financial statement by the board. The independent auditor's report, pages 2 and 3, will be provided for inclusion in the audited financial statements to the Ministry of Education and Child Care. The 2023-24 appointed auditor, Steve Treisman, of O'Hara LLP, Chartered Professional Accountants, will present a verbal report of the financial statements and accompanying notes to the board at the September 25th, 2024 regular board meeting. The Business Committee reviewed the draft 2023-24 audited financial statements and notes its September 18th, 2024 meeting and forwards to the board with a recommendation for approval. The motion is that the board approve the 2023-24 audited financial statements and notes version 7355-6609-4627 as presented.
A seconder, and then we'll have discussion. Thank you. Discussion and questions. Lead us through things.
Well, thank you very much for the opportunity to be here to present the financial statements of School District 82 for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2024. Bit of background, we as independent auditors are engaged to express an opinion as to whether or not we believe the financial statements in this package are materially correct. Now we go about our audit not just looking at the numbers in the financial statements, but we come in July, we review the processes around the major control cycles within the school district. Now, typically in a school district, 75 to 85% of the expenses are payroll related, and there are various union agreements and exempt contracts. So we go through and we make sure that people are being paid in accordance with either the union schedule of rates or the employment agreements for time actually worked within the district. We also look at the purchasing controls and the procurement processes. We review the minutes of the meeting of the Board of Trustees to get comfort that the direction that you have given finance in various motions have in fact been implemented and have flowed their way through into the financial statements. We then look at the numbers with the capable and courteous assistance of Ginger, Linda, and the team to arrive at the financial statements that we have in front of us now. Now, these financial statements are prepared using a template that is standardized across all school districts in British Columbia, and at a very high level. The school districts have essentially three funds. The operating fund, the capital fund, and the special purposes fund. So if any of you are taking the time to actually go through these financial statements, all of the schedules at the end of the financial statements that are with the number 2 are operating related. The number 3 are special funds related, and number 4 are capital funds related. So from a financial perspective, the most important statement that we typically look at is on page 48, which is a snapshot of the financial health of the district at a particular point in time. And if I'm going into too much detail here, Ginger, please. Okay. So this is a snapshot of the financial health of School District 82 as at June 30th, 2024 in comparison to 2023. So going down the list here, financial assets, cash is $500,000 lower than it was at the end of the previous fiscal year. And this is primarily due to an increase in certain receivables, primarily the LEA receivables, and cash was collected on those LEA receivables subsequent to year end. Under the liabilities, comparable to the previous fiscal year, overall, 74 million versus 73 million in the prior fiscal year. The liabilities are largely dependent on capital projects that are outstanding at the end of the fiscal year. There were a number of bylaw funded capital projects in the year, approximately $3.5–4 million worth. And no major holdbacks or liabilities reported at the end of the year, so comparable to the previous fiscal. All in all, looking at this balance sheet or statement of financial position, overall, the school district is in really good financial health. Primarily funded by the Ministry of Education and Childcare. We go on to the next page, $64 million. So this statement too is a consolidation of all of the financial activities across the 3 funds that I mentioned earlier. So $64 million of the $77 million worth of revenue is from the Ministry of Education and Childcare. And in other revenue, $9 million, the biggest component of that $9 million is LEA funding. So surplus deficit of minus $359,000 for the year, so virtually break even considering the size of the budget. And the last schedule I'll touch on is on page. Sorry, many accountants wouldn't even understand these financial statements, so I'm just touching on what I believe to be the key points here. So on page 67 of the package, we have a breakdown of the surpluses on the various funds. So in the operating fund, in the first column there, the school district started off with $1 million surplus and ended with a $1.19 million surplus. And that $1.19 million surplus has all been accounted for to be spent in the next fiscal year. I believe approximately just over $500,000 of that is Aboriginal education dollars that are carried over from the previous fiscal year. Very much a situation where the financial statements for 2024 are largely comparable to 2023. The school district is in good financial health. And I would like to take this opportunity to really thank Ginger and her team for all of the support in getting the audit done. I mention it every single year, but the School District 82 is so fortunate to have a team that's been together for a long time, and a successful finance team requires, a working relationship that is established over many, many years. So, Ginger, thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And our intention, as soon as the board have approved the financial statements, is to issue an unqualified opinion on these financial statements, which means that it's the highest degree of assurance that we as auditors can issue on a set of financial statements. We're basically saying that we believe the financial statements are materially correct. So we'll then date our audit report and get that through to Ginger before Carol harasses me and keep Ian Aaron off of the finance team's back. So thank you very much. Hopefully I didn't put anybody to sleep. I appreciate you all listening to the presentation.
Well, we appreciate your notes, and we appreciate you complimenting Ginger and her staff. That is awesome. We did, as a board of trustees, have Ginger walk us through a number of things, and I'm glad to hear that we're in good health, but we did identify some risk areas. One is our old buildings on the costs, and that's creeping up, and we need to be paying some attention to that. And Ed, did you have another one that we should be paying attention to? I have my notes here. Yeah. Okay, no. So what I would like to just have recorded is that the board did spend a lot of time earlier today going through it line by line, and Ginger explained it all to us, and we know that we have some risk areas that we're going to have to advocate with the ministry to fix our buildings and things like that. So I just didn't want it missed. Mike, you had a question.
Oh, yes. Oh, I'm not muted. Yes, I was looking for other professionals as an expense. And I was wondering if I could find that. I noticed that trustees are paid as other professionals, and I was trying to find it.
It's in the segment.
You will find it on page 71.
Okay.
So your question is, where is other professionals? Okay, it's the 1, 2, 5th line over, Indigenous education and special ed. Is that what you were looking for, Mike, on page?
Well, I'm looking, I'm wondering if it might be school district governance.
Yes, that is where you would find the remuneration for trustees.
Wondering where. Now I was told by some parents that early in the last school year that a private investigator was hired, and that may or may not be true. But I was looking for that item.
We have no I have no recollection of that ever happening. And I know that we haven't paid for such a service. We do pay for investigations, personnel investigations that happen through HR. And those are not under wages. They are under expenses, under contracted services.
Contracted services under expenses, okay.
Did you have a further question or you want to digest?
No, that's fine. I just wanted to be able to find that item.
So if we can we have a motion on the table to approve the 2023-2024 audited financial statements and notes version, 7355, 6609, 4627 as presented. It's moved by Ed, seconded by Karen. All in favor? Pass. Thank you.
Margaret? Yeah. I would just like to thank my staff because these financial statements and the accuracy, oh goodness, are based on their really hard work and their dedication to this district, and it is definitely not me alone. So I need to recognize all of them as well. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Ginger. Item number 11.1.3, and that's pages 81 through 82. The background is that, as outlined in the attached draft letter addressed to the Minister of Education and Child Care, the school district is requesting approval carry forward a surplus of $571,684 in the targeted Indigenous education funds to the 2024-25 fiscal year. Pursuant to section 106.4(2) of the School Act, the board is required to formally request approval for the Coast Mountain Board of Education to understand its targeted Indigenous education allocation for the 2023-24 school year. If the request to carry forward is approved, the unspent 2023-24 surplus of $571,684 will be brought forward and added to the 2024-25 targeted Indigenous education allocation and will be reflected in the 2024-25 amended annual budget. The Business Committee reviewed this request at a September 18th, 2024 meeting and forwards to the board with a recommendation for approval. The recommended action or motion that the board approve the carry forward of $571,684 surplus in Indigenous education targeted funds to the 2024-25 fiscal year.
A seconder for Ed's motion. Karen, thank you. Any questions? All in favor? Thank you. Passed.
Item number 11.1.4, 83 through 97 in your package. The draft 2023-24 school year financial statement discussion and analysis report. Background is that attached, we find the draft 2023-24 school year financial statement discussion and analysis report for Coast Mountain School District 82. This document provides a discussion and analysis of the financial performance of the School District 82 for the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2024. The financial statement represents the consolidation of three separate funds: the operating, special purpose, and capital funds. This report is a summary of the School District 82's financial activities based on currently known facts, decisions, and conditions. The result of the current year are discussed in comparison with the prior year and budget. This report could be read in conjunction with the 2023-24 audited financial statements. The Business Committee reviewed this report at its September 18th, 2024 meeting and forwarded to the board for information. The recommended action or motion is that the board receive the 2023-24 school year financial statement discussion and analysis report for Coast Mountain School District 82 as presented.
Moved by Ed, seconded by Wayne. Thank you. Any comment or anything from the Secretary Treasurer? Well done. It's very complete.
Yeah, for those who aren't overly familiar with financial statements, I think that you'll find the financial statement discussion and analysis helpful in understanding what has happened financially and the projects that we've completed, and staffing such as that will help you understand the statements further. And I encourage people to read them because everyone wants to read financial statements. But these statements really help. As Steve said, lots of us can barely understand some of the financial statements that come to accountants. So this document is really helpful in understanding it and breaking it down.
Okay. All in favor of receiving the report? Yes. Thank you. We don't have an education committee report this month. It has been postponed a little bit, but we'll be getting going very shortly. Karen, did you have any comments as chair or anything to add?
No, it's been a while, but October, we're getting rolling again, and maybe in perspective, new format perhaps for the education committee.
Thank you. So we will move to 12.1, the superintendent of schools CEO announcement. It's on page 98. I'll read a little bit of what's in the preamble. Following a comprehensive search process, the board was pleased to announce on August 30th, 2024, the appointment of Ms. Tracy McMillan to the position of superintendent of schools and CEO of Coast Mountain School District, effective October 7th, 2024, but I understand she's starting a week ahead of time. So that's the news release is attached and will actually joining our team October 1st, 2024. So I will take that off there. Ms. McMillan is eager to form relationships in the school district and looks forward to meeting students, families, staff, community, and district partners upon her arrival in early October. Her leadership will play a key role in ensuring a strong future for Coast Mountain's learners and schools. Ms. McMillan is both excited and grateful for the opportunity to serve the learners and families of our school district as our superintendent and CEO. Sincere gratitude is extended to the board, to the Inter-Tribal Education Committee, staff, administrators, and partner groups who contributed to the superintendent search process and participated in the interviews. I will add a line here and say thank you also to our acting superintendent who led us through the process and did a lot of work to have it happen for us. Thank you. The insights provided by community members and others were very helpful, and the board wishes to thank each individual participant for their valuable time and input. Congratulations to Ms. McMillan on her new position, and we look forward to welcoming her to Coast Mountain School District. The recommended action, Karen, can you move that for me?
So moved.
That the board acknowledge the completion of the comprehensive superintendent search process and the appointment of Tracy McMillan to the position of superintendent of schools and CEO effective October 1st, 2024. A seconder for Karen's motion. And any questions? All in favor? Pass. Thank you. We now move to the 2024-2025 annual work plan, which is on page 100. That way. So thank you, Carol, for assisting us and having updated our 2024-2025 annual work plan. As we know from the past couple of years of being trustees, things do change and new things may be added in by the ministry at different times for us to do. But this gives us a guide for where we're moving forward for the next year. So the motion is that we approve the 2024-2025 annual work plan as presented. Karen, so moved?
Yeah.
Thank you. Seconder, and any questions or thoughts to add anything onto the work plan? It looks very busy.
Trustee Maxim.
Mike, you had a question or a comment on the work plan?
Yes, I do. I'm asking about the self-evaluation survey and annual full board evaluation.
Yeah. So
Where is the survey coming from?
the survey was reviewed and will be coming out in a week or so. It's based on the BCSTA and BCPC surveys for boards. And it will come out electronically for every member to respond back to. So it was on our work plan for September, get done by November. So we're in process, yes.
And the annual full board evaluation, who is that done by?
It's being done both. We're doing it ourselves. We're not outsourcing it. And the survey that's coming out covers both individuals and board as a whole.
And who's going to be delivered to?
It will be delivered back to Carol, and as your board chair, we'll summarize it and everybody will have the results.
Will it be a public document or is it internal?
Good question. The summation will probably be public in terms of where we're moving forward. Yes.
Will trustees be privy to the documents, not the summation?
I don't know. I would have to look to guidance on that. I would think you're going to get the summation, not everybody's individual one. We're trying to work together as a team, not fragment each other, not criticize each other. Yeah.
I just don't know if you want to add the recognition of in April for opposite, because you have recognition of everyone, but we don't have opposite really.
Oh, thank you. Good. So we had some feedback to add in April, the recognition of office administration. Thank you for reading through the work plan. Mike, I'll consider what your questions are and we'll get back to everybody to decide what's best for the board to work together as a team. Yeah. Karen moved this, Ed seconded, all in favor of the work plan with the addition of the recognizing our great support staff that we have from the mid. Thank you. He's fast. You didn't vote.
Did Mike not do?
Mike, did you want to vote on the work plan?
Thumbs up.
Okay, thank you. And next, I don't know, Ginger, do you want to do this one? You're secretary treasurer. This one's exciting to me.
Sure. So 12.3 amended ministry response to the annual 5-year capital plan submission 2024-2025 and capital bylaw 2024-25 CPSD 82-2. So this is some exciting news for us. The reference attached amended capital plan response letter dated September 16th, 2024 from the Ministry of Education and Child Care's Capital Management Branch, Resource Management Division, has included the approval of prefabricated classrooms for Sioux Laux Community School. The new classrooms are expected to be ready as early as next school year. This amendment is in addition to the board's 5-year capital plan submission for 2024-2025 major and minor capital plans reviewed and adopted in June 14th, 2024 regular board meeting. The ministry instructed boards of education reviewing and amend the capital plan response letter to adopt a single capital bylaw for its approval of the 24-25 5-year capital plan as attached in accordance with section 143 of the School Act to allow the school district to access the ministry capital portion and to receive certificates of approval This agenda item is being forwarded directly to the board, noting it was not presented to the business committee on September 18th due to the ministry's requested media embargo on this project. The media embargo was lifted by the ministry on September 18th, 2024, after the business committee meeting. The government news media release attached, at which time the school district was instructed to proceed with the capital bylaw adoption by the board. Do you want me to read the recommended action? Sure. Yeah. The recommended action that the capital bylaw number 2024-25 CP SD 82-2 capital plan 2024-25 be read for a first time the 25th day of September 2024.
So moved by Karen, second by Ed. All in favor?
Okay. Mr.
Mike,
Maxim.
question? A question or in favor?
Is his hand raised?
Questions, please.
Okay, go ahead.
Now, I noticed in your letter that it says, noting it was not presented at the business committee on September 18th due to a ministry requested media embargo on this project. So the requested media embargo on this project, was that the September 16th letter on page 103?
September 18th. Oh, yes, I believe so. No.
No, so we received the letter from the ministry on September 16th, 2024, and they released the media release as of September 18th, and that's how we were able to move ahead.
I'm just asking if that's the letter referred to when the ministry requested media embargo. Is that the September the 16th letter? It does ask that you treat this approval as confidential. Is that the letter that you're referring to?
Yes,
okay.
I am.
I would like to point out that in that same line, it says, until such time as the ministry and school district have had an opportunity. So I would suggest that probably this document should have been considered by the business committee because that's their job, right? So the media embargo, I would suggest, did not apply to the business committee. And I'd also like to point out on page 106 that we have instructions to the board, 105, 106. It says at the bottom of the page, it says, it is strongly encouraged that school districts discuss the draft versions of their intended capital projects and AFG project request with ministry staff well in advance of submission deadlines. And it also says that the deadline on minor capital programs is September the 30th. So now the first, my understanding, and forgive me if I'm wrong, is that the first time that any of the trustees are getting wind of this is on Monday when this package was delivered to us. Is that correct?
No, I wouldn't say that was correct, Mike. This project was part of our submission that wasn't approved prior to this. So it was always within the capital plan that was presented. It was just not a project that the Ministry of Education picked up and approved on their end prior to September. And that's why we have to do an amendment.
Oh, I did have one. Oh, I'm sorry, I did have one more minor question. Now, on page 108, it does says as early as next year for the new student spaces. Does that mean in the next school year?
Yes.
Not this year, but next year?
Yes, I believe we're talking about the start of the next school year, which would be September 2025.
All right, thank you. I don't have any further questions.
Okay, all in favor of the first motion? Read the first time? All in favor, passed. Can you read the second motion, please?
Yeah, the recommended action that the bylaw number 2024-25 CP SD 82-2 capital plan 2024-25 be read a second time the 25th day of September 2024.
So moved by second. Ed?
Wayne.
Oh, Wayne. Oh, sorry. Can't look both ways at once. Okay, any question? All in favor of the capital bylaw being read for the second time? Passed. Good, thank you. We now need unanimous consent to proceed to a third reading. Is everybody in agreement of moving to the third reading? Please vote. Thank you, passed. Ginger, can you read the third reading?
The recommended action that the capital bylaw number 2024-25 CP SD 82-2 capital plan 2024-25 be read a third time, passed and adopted on the 25th day of September 2024.
So moved by Wayne. Okay, Sarah? All in favor? Passed. Thank you. That's very exciting, and the news will get out there now. I think that there's good feelings about that. We now move on to 12.4, the appointment of the election officer, and that's also you, Ginger.
Oh,
well,
okay.
according to this here, yeah.
As a result of the unfortunate resignation of trustee Sunny Duncan Green, we need to appoint a chief election officer. So this is the appointment of the chief election officer, school trustee by election, Kitimat electoral area. A school trustee by election will be held to elect one school trustee for trustee electoral area 1, Kitimat, for a term commencing January 2025 and ending November 2026 as a result of the resignation of trustee Sunny Duncan Green, tendered September 13th, 2024. The service of a chief elections officer for the school district trustee by election for trustee electoral area 1, Kitimat, are required by CMSD with the recommendation to appoint Ms. Kathy Jackson as the chief election officer effective September 18th for Coast Mountain School District 82. The recommended action that Ms. Kathy Jackson be appointed as chief elections officer effective September 18th, 2024 by the school trustee by election for trustee electoral area 1, Kitimat, for Coast Mountain School District 82 to be held mid-September to mid-December 2024 approximately.
So moved by Wayne. Good. Karen? Okay. Any questions? We're in process. All in favor of appointment? Pass. Thank you. Next on the agenda is the BCSTA Provincial Election Advocacy for the Boards of Education. This is presented for review and discussion, and because we need to get it out before the next board meeting, BCSTA has requested us do an advocacy letter to each of the candidates running in our region. That way, I have modified the letter that they sent to try and incorporate specifics to us, and I'm welcoming some input to make sure we capture the specifics. And it's up to the board to decide. We can just trust that I'll take the input and we'll get it into the letter and get it out right away, or we could do a quick email type of vote to assume that we've captured everything that we want to say. It's up to you in terms of the time to do this is like yesterday, according to BCSTA. But when I read the BCSTA letter, it was all provincial, and we really need to speak specifically about our challenges that we have with aging buildings, with funding, recruitment and retention of teachers. When we went through the financial statements, we noted a couple of things that are specific to our region, and I'll capture those into the letter. So how would you like to review it and get it out? Are you comfortable doing a letter?
I think, Chair, there is all candidates meeting here tomorrow. And it would be useful if the candidates had the letter, I hate to say it, by tomorrow.
Okay. Mike, you had a comment?
Yeah, there are a lot of places in this draft that you've composed, Margaret, that are like, there are repetitive sentences and many areas where you should have referred to our school district rather than group rural and, well, for there it says rural and remote district faces infrastructure challenges, and they're all over the place, and that's not necessary because we really want to focus on like us. I think this letter needs to be rewritten.
Okay, I take the input that maybe we should reduce the amount of times that said rural and remote. I mean, that's what they gave me to use. So certainly referring to CMSD 82 more frequently could be done.
I don't object to the content of the letter. I just don't think that it's very well written.
Okay. Other input is welcomed, and I'll try and get it done tomorrow afternoon. So if you have tomorrow mornings, let me know, and then we'll get it out to the candidates. Because it is important that we advocate as much as we can. Okay, agreement that we go ahead that way. This is a dialogue item. Yeah. I don't think we need to do anything to with Carol. No, it's discussion. Okay. We will correct it and get it done. Next is the board chair report, and it's received for information. We've already covered a lot of what's in my board chair report. Welcoming everybody back, thanking Sonny for his services, and we are going to miss him. But we also understand his busy life and what's happening with other commitments, and we wish him well with that. Welcome back to all of our employees, and what we did want to, I wanted to highlight is that recruitment and retention is still a challenge for our district, and we had 20 new hires, and we want to welcome all the new employees to our district. Any opportunity that we have to be able to welcome them and keep them here. Recruitment and retention is a big focus of both BCPC and BCSTA. And on behalf of the board, I've been participating in the Rural and Remote Network Committee, and they are going to advocate during the election as well to push for the whole North area. And there's specific areas of recruitment as incentives, housing, access to continuing education, mentorship, employee support. They're pushing as much as they possibly can and addressing stuff. One of the very worrisome things in the data that was reviewed by the committee is that they are actually concluding from BCPC that our recruitment and retention challenges will be 10 years in the future. It's going to take a long time to resolve it. So I pointed out that worrisome point with the data that they had. And it's both recruitment and retention. We've had 2 board chair calls in September. One welcome to the Ministry of Education welcoming us back. And I was pleased to hear that she has a focus right now, and we all know there's an election going on capital projects and the need for a safe, modern setting in our schools. So she spoke to that a lot, as well as we thanked Christine, retiring or leaving us, Deputy Minister Christine Zacharakis, who's moved on to another position. She also shared that there's been changes in regulations for safe zones around schools and referred to this being needed for the protests that have been closing on school grounds. So we will put in the new legislation or the new regulations, right? Yeah. Chloe Nichols also presented on both calls where she reviewed how we're implementing Bill 40, and our acting superintendent has spoken about how as a board we want to be working towards that implementation and working as a team. And the second call from Chloe was just some comments and discussion on First Nations representation on boards of education, because that is at the provincial level with the legislation that way. And still hasn't come yet, but Kirsten Fisher presented a report summating all the trustee code of ethics policies, because all districts were reviewed. 52 districts were reviewed, and 12 districts had exemplary policies, and 5 had more than exemplary policies. And I'm waiting for the minister's letter to tell us how well we did, because I think we did a good job with that policy that way. She did point out that we need to continue to think about trustee training and onboarding. We need to think about mechanisms for review and affirmation of trustee code of conduct and breaches and sanctions. And then my last paragraph is about the letter that I will edit for tomorrow and try to get to the trustees. So I submit this report to be received, and I welcome any questions. Comments? Mike, you still have your hand up, or you're
It's a new hand.
a new hand? Go ahead, you have a comment, Mike?
Yes, I do. I have some questions. Now, it says that Kirsten Fisher presented a summation report on the requirement to submit to the Ministry School District Trustee Code of Conduct Policy. May I receive a copy of that summation report?
You'll get a copy of it when we get the minister's letter, stating where we are and where we fall, and that'll be a public letter. Yeah.
Okay. Now, also you're saying here there were 12 school districts with exemplary policies. May I get a list of what those 12 school districts were so that I might examine their exemplary policies?
I will assume that that'll be in the minister's letter when it comes out, but we'll have to see. It's up to her to tell us or the minister to say what we can disclose.
Okay, one final question. It said the Advocacy Committee of BCSTA has developed a letter to be sent to all candidates in the upcoming provincial election. And then it says this letter is shared under new business. But I believe that it is your edited copy that is shared under new business. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay, so I would be able to access the letter that the BCSTA developed, I would assume, on the BCSTA site?
Yep, that's where
was there a communication that would have been intended to reach all of the trustees?
It's on the site. That's where I got it. Yeah. 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 So I took their letter and drafted it to make it ours. Yeah. And it also reflected what we had in our Prince George meeting when we were there and talked about what the North needs. So we tried to capture everything that we've talked about in terms of pushing the ministry, or pushing the elected candidates. Further questions, Mike? Are we good?
No, thank you.
Okay, trustee reports.
Was the motion first?
Oh, Karen, will you move receipt of my report? Thank you. So Wayne, thank you. All in favor of receiving my report? Thank you. Passed. Thank you. Trustee reports. Any trustee reports? Mike, you still have your hand up? Do you have a trustee report this time?
Trustee report, please. Okay, I this week had a meeting. I've gone down to Vancouver. I had a meeting with Gordon Lee at the BCSTA and a follow-up telephone conversation with him. He stated that I made good points in everything that I discussed, and he suggests that I reopen conversation with our board, specifically regarding interference in messages intended for me. I had pointed out to him that letters which are sent to any individual by Canada Post, if somebody interferes with them, that would be a prison sentence. And I suggested that communications intended for an elected public official that are obstructed quite possibly should have some serious legal consequences as well. And at that point, he said, anyway, he agreed and suggested that I reopen the conversation with this board. And he's given me a couple of liaison personnel contact information.
Okay, well,
That is my report.
okay, thank you for alerting us, and we'll address what we can, if we can do anything. Thank you. Any other trustee reports?
I'd just like to acknowledge the great work that was done by my other trustee, my partner, Sunny Duncan Green. Such a bright light and just a wonderful person to work with, did so much good work for us. And on that point, very sad to see Sunny go. I just really hope that someone in Kitimat, and really good candidates step forward, or many good candidates step forward, so we can complete our board and carry on with the business at hand.
Any other trustee reports? Any questions from the audience? Oh, sorry.
I'm right behind you. I just want to respectfully ask that you add in TCOC recognition for May. Our TCOCs need to be recognized. They are few and far between, and everyone in this room knows how very important they are.
Okay, thank you. We will add that in. Everybody comfortable adding that in as an edit? Thank you. Yes. Any other questions? Okay, thank you, everybody. Can I have a motion to adjourn then? So done. Thank you.
So Jocelyn, I just go for time this weekend?
Yeah.
Everyone have a good night.
Thank you. Bye, Terry.
No, the same.
Oh, nice. Fun. I'm very proud. I had a wonderful summer, but I it's all right.
No, of course.
This wasn't.
That's what I'm doing that too. Been making,